y'all, it's Kate, and today I'm going to be doing the A to Z Bookish survey. This is kind of an old post. It started as a blog post and turned into like a video thing, but I just felt like doing it, so here we go. It's actually only 80 degrees here in Texas, yet I wanted to wear a sweater because it's October. I deserve to wear sweaters. A is an author that you've read the most books from. Sarah J. Maas. This is like, who's surprised? Nobody's surprised. I've read like every single book that Sarah J. Maas has out, except Empire Storms, because I'm working on that. B is the best sequel that I've ever read. Obviously, A Quarter Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, because this sequel actually changed everything. It took the series and just flipped it and screwed with my mind entirely. And I've talked about this a lot, but what else can I say about it? C is for currently reading Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. I swear half this video is Sarah J. Maas. I'm so sorry. She basically took over my life as soon as I figured out about her. She just came in and swiped everything else away, and then it was just Sarah J. Maas. D is for drink of choice while reading. Basically I just drink water most of the time, which is really boring, but I just get thirsty, and that's, you know, what helps it the most. If I don't drink water, I just drink iced tea because Texas. E is for e-reader or physical book. Obviously I read physical books because, I mean, I've said that a lot of times, but I just don't read ebooks. I know they're cheaper and I have them, and sometimes I go to them, but for the most part I just like pages. F is for a fictional character that you actually would have dated in high school. I'm in high school, and I think what this question means is a character that you would have realistically dated, not like, oh yeah, I would have dated Rhysand in high school, because honestly I probably would have been too chicken to ever talk to Rhysand in high school. So realistically I probably would date Colin from An Abundance of Catherines because he's really smart and a little bit awkward, but like not like really awkward, and he just has that nerdy appeal that I typically go for, let's be real. G is for glad you gave this book a chance. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I came onto this series so late. Most people grew up with this series, but I read it last year. Yeah, I think it was summer of before my sophomore year, and it was so good. I just can't believe it took me this long to read it. H is for a hidden gem book, for which I chose Baby by Patricia McLaughlin, because this is so tiny and I'm sure nobody's ever heard of it, and I mean, I know I didn't, but I just read it really quickly and it was really, really beautiful, and I really loved the way that the story felt and how emotional it was, yet so concise, I guess. I is for an important moment in your reading life. Definitely discovering BookTube for me, not even just making a BookTube, just discovering it in general, because that opened my eyes to so many different books, and it made me realize that so many people feel this way about reading as I do, and it just broadened my world so much. J is for just finished, and I just finished Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by J.K. Rowling, which was pretty good, pretty good. It's honestly, okay, this is the only book I read in all of September, and that's, I'm not coming out with a September wrap up, so it can just go unsaid that this is it. K is a kind of books that you won't read, like a genre. Honestly, I don't have like something that I won't read, like I refuse to or whatever, but I'm not into manga, and I don't know if I ever will be, simply because it doesn't seem like something that's up my alley. I don't know, the idea of like reading something backwards, and I don't know, the art style of manga, it's just not something that really appeals to me, but I can see why people like it. L is for the longest book that you've read, which is apparently The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, and I looked on Goodreads to figure out what the longest book that I've read is, and of course it's this, but it doesn't look incredibly long in this angle, I guess, but this is definitely an abridged version, but even, I think I marked the abridged version on Goodreads. I think this is just highly compressed because it's a mass market paperback and the pages are like dead thin. So if you double the page size to a normal page size, I can see why it's the longest book I've ever read. Goodreads says that this is 1,276 pages, so quite an accomplishment. And I read this in 8th grade. M is for major book hangover, which would of course be A Quarter Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, but if not A Court of Mist and Fury, because I talk about that way too much, then it would be Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, but I also talk about that way too much. So I don't really know how to answer questions without repeating myself. N is for the number of bookcases that I own, which is simply 1. Now it's kind of a big bookcase, like moderately big, but it's only 1 bookcase, so that is correct. O is for 1 book that you've read multiple times. I typically don't reread books, I'll just reread sections of books, but the books that I probably reread from the most are The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, so most specifically probably like The Clockwork Prince, because I feel like this was my favorite in the series, but I can't remember. I read them so long ago, but I used to reread these all the time, just like flipping through it and going to random pages, but good times, good times. P is for preferred place to read, which is simply my bed because I'm lazy. Q is for a quote that inspires you from a book that you've read. For me, it's from Lord of the Rings. I'm not sure which book specifically, but it is all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us, which is pretty amazing, honestly. R is for reading regret, which for me would probably be not reading Throne of Glass sooner. I was really late on the train and I heard about it and everybody was talking about it and I was like, man, that's probably right up my alley. And then I didn't read it till like a year later. So I wish I'd read that sooner. I also wish I'd just read Harry Potter and grown up with it like everybody else, but I didn't. So at least I read it now. S is for a series that I started and have not finished, and that would be the Iron Number 4 series by Pittacus Lore. Of course, my friend recommended this to me, and the first book was good, and apparently they get better, so I do need to continue on. T is for 3 of my all-time favorite books, which are Court of Mist and Fury, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings, which is incredibly obvious, and I say that way too many times. You can kind of tack on The Infernal Devices, though, for 4, because they really made me love reading so much. It's amazing. U is unapologetic fangirl 4, and obviously the answer for this is Rhysand, because I'm such a Rhysand fangirl. Like, I'm here for anything. You want to talk about Rhysand? Let's go. I have like 2 books, I have 2 friends at school who have read Court of Mist and Fury, and we have so many inside jokes about Rhysand. It is the best thing ever. One of my friends, Mary, and I, every time I go up to her, I'll just be like, you want some soup? And it's our thing. And then also, like, every time we're, like, in a bad mood or something, we'll be like, it's okay. Our High Lord Rhysand of the Night Court doesn't care. V is very excited for this release over all others, which would probably be Crystal Storm by Morgan Rhodes, which is the 5th book in the Fallen Kingdom series. And I'm really pumped to continue on with the series, so I hope it comes out soon. I think it comes out in December. Also, just ACOTAR 3, whatever the 3rd book in the series is going to be, we all know it's going to be bomb because of Rhysand. X is for X marks the spot, which means go to the top left corner of your bookshelf and go to the 27th book, and then whatever that book is. For me, that is Gathering Blue by Lois Lowry. I love this book so much. It's so good. Such a small yet powerful book. Y is your latest book purchase, which I put an Amazon order in for 3 different Sarah J Maas books. I bought Court of Mist and Fury, Empire of Storms, and The Assassin's Blade, which the only one I hadn't read at that point was Empire of Storms, but I didn't own the other 2, and I was like, gotta buy them all. Finally, Z is Z, or like the book that kept you up when you were supposed to be sleeping. Like a Z Snatcher, I think that's what I was supposed to say. I don't even know, it's just a Z Snatcher. For me, that would be Confessed by Colleen Hoover. I literally went to bed one night at 5 in the morning because of this book, because it was really good, and I was like, Caitlin, you're gonna stay up until you finish this book. And I thought, oh sure, I can finish this in 2 hours. It was like midnight at that point. No, it took me 5 more hours to finish it. I mean, it's probably because I was like half asleep while reading it, but I couldn't really tell you what happened in that book. Can't tell you. That's all for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye!